What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. I've got an opportunity today, which unless you've been living out in the middle of the woods, everybody knows that Dungeon Defenders Awakened is headed our way. So I'm here with Elandrian, the creative director of Chromatic Games, and got an opportunity to chat with him a bit today. So what's going on there, Elandrian?
What is up? Not too much. Just at 100K, so we're very excited.
It's ticking away. I've got it up on a second monitor right now. Excited to see it's doing so well.
We're going to hit it, man. We're going to hit our goal, and then obviously like anything above that is gravy.
Hell yeah, that's just awesome stuff. I tell you, Monday, I use my alarm clock, or my telephone, pardon me. I use my phone as my alarm clock. And Monday, before my alarm clock goes off, I hear this little beep. I hear that Twitter beep, you know? Mm-hmm. So I grab it just to look, and my jaw about hit the ground. And it's just funny. Just a couple of minutes prior, the wife is like, "Are you going to get out of bed?" And I'm like, "Nah, a few more minutes." And then the second I saw that, it was like instant awake, spring out of bed, run to my computer.
It's like a Christmas morning announcement.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining me today and chatting a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited, you know. I've been talking about if we could get a more modernized version of some DD1 type gameplay and just a more, well, I mean, for lack of better words, Unreal 4 version of Dungeon Defenders. Mm-hmm. I've been going on and on about this for months, and I'm so excited to see that it is coming to a reality for sure.
Yeah.
Now,
it's an exciting time.
Absolutely. Now, I know I figured I'd just jump throw the punching gloves on right away and get this out of the way here. And I know you discussed it in your forum news post, but what can you say that would make me, as someone who's played all of the renditions of Dungeon Defenders, what would make Awaken different from Eternity?
What would make Awaken different from Eternity? Oh my gosh. Everything about it. Honestly, we were going back and, you know, the majority of the team actually didn't work on Eternity and came later. You know, I joined Trendy just a little under 3 years ago. And, you know, most of us kind of came in the DD2 time frame. And so part of looking at this remake and looking at Dungeon Defenders Awakened, we went back, obviously checked out DD1, you know, just to refresh memories. But we also went back and checked out Dungeon Defenders Eternity, because obviously we know the perception on it was less than stellar, right? So we just wanted to make sure that whatever our new product was doing, it will not feel like we're just trying to do Eternity again. So we went back and looked at the ways, you know, a lot of the UIs were different, the inventory was different. You know, there were a ton of like gameplay and balance changes. There was some like the talisman system. I'm pretty sure they were talismans, the extra items that you had on your character.
Yeah.
I honestly had completely forgotten that I had like several like maxed out characters in that game. I had completely forgotten my time in that game, but I loaded up my profile and like had a bunch of characters with gear, and I was like, all right, like let's look at it. So we went back and kind of took a look at the differences that were made between 1 and Eternity. And honestly, we're not happy with a lot of the choices that were made with that. And, you know, we've been evolving DD2 a lot from its initial launch, right? Its initial early access launch, DD2 is a vastly different game. And I'm sure you know, anyone who's been with us that long can attest to that.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to take a lot of those learnings and apply it to, you know, making the new game. So it's like, it's not, you know, DD1 and DDE came out years and years ago. Like there's been a lot of kind of advancements and shifts in video games right now, just in the industry, that we want to make sure our product is up to date with. And, you know, a bunch of us here, we play way too many new games. I mean, my wallet suffers from all the new games that I play. So we just wanted to make sure that, like, you know, people have new expectations from the games that they purchase now, and we want to make a modern product So some of the big things and big differences, obviously a lot of our current Kickstarter footage and levels are work in progress. Like there's a lot of stuff that will still be updated, will still be, made brand new looking. But the big piece is that we're trying to connect the stories together and the reason why you're playing through these games and why you're going through these familiar situations, familiar locations in DDA. And I don't want to spoil too much about what's going on, but we wanted to make it like a transition game between DD2 and then getting to DD3. But we knew, DD3 we want to make, as epic as possible and have crazy amounts of content, crazy amounts of new features, and really do it justice. But to do that, we need a lot more money.
Absolutely.
And a lot more time. So, obviously we just transitioned into becoming, a new company together, and we're employee owned, and the people working here are now invested in the work that we're doing. And so we want to try to keep that. So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, with the current team that we have and with the resources that are available to us, the resources like the money that's still coming in from DD2, DD1 copies still sell a little bit and make us some money, right? So those are the things that are supplying, some of that effort there. But it's okay, so let's take a look at our expenses. Let's take a look at our team. What do we think we can realistically get done and get a new product out? And our goal was we want a new product this year, right? And launch a new thing this year. So what can that product look like? And so that's when we started looking at, we're oh, well, you know what? We don't have a game on the Nintendo Switch. So we're what can we make for the Nintendo Switch? And so then we're looking at, all right, so what if we did, DD1 killed it. What if we did a DD1 remake? And it's well, but then people feel like that's another DDE because DDE was supposed to be a DD1 remake. And it's well, we don't want that feeling. All right, so let's make a new game. What does that mean? What does a new game mean? And so we have all this content, right, from all our previous games, and it's a ton of maps, a ton of heroes, a ton of defenses, tons of, visual awesomeness. And we're how can we use that in a new way to make new content and really springboard our development and give us a jump start into making a new game. So we're using that as our foundation and our base, and obviously our programming team's knowledge of the core systems that make Dungeon Defenders. And so they have all that knowledge. We have all those same people, and we're already ahead from where we thought we were gonna be. We've been scheduling out, making a prototype of what does it look like and what is that gonna get made. And our programmers are so good; they've been a month ahead already, which is just nuts. And so we're very happy. But to circle back and answer your main question of what is going to make DDA different from DDE. DDA is going to play. It's going to feel very differently while you're playing, and it's one of the things we pinpointed on the Kickstarter. It's going to feel different from a control aspect. It's going to feel different from a quality of life aspect. There's a ton of quality of life improvements. A lot of stuff coming from DD2, but then a lot of stuff that's kind of brand new that we've been wanting to do, and now just because of the kind of ease of development in Unreal 4, we can do it in a much quicker timeline. And then it's a brand new story, brand new reason to play. I don't want to spoil too much of some of that connection going to be made, and I know you're probably going to ask me about it in a bit, so I'll give what I can. But yeah, and then obviously it'll be really cool. I really want to add extra content, new content that people haven't seen before, new boss fights, which is kind of part of some of the story stuff that I don't want to reveal too much about, but I can talk a little bit too. So it's really a new experience in the world of Dungeon Defenders. So the familiar setting will be the world, right? It's familiar layouts of maps, familiar places, but they're going to look brand new. There's going to be a new reason why you're going through the maps that are familiar, and we'll probably have some brand new maps as well. But I just mean there's going to be a lot of familiar layouts Similarly, how we built, DD2 maps that are based on like DD1 layouts. We're gonna have some new content too. So like, it's gonna be some new content, a new reason why you're going through. You're back with heroes and defenses that you loved from DD1. We're refocusing on, towers really being a mainstay of the gameplay, but then also kind of removing some of the clunkiness from DD1 and removing some of like making the hero gameplay a little bit better, so it feels better to like jump in and dumpster some things on your heroes, but it doesn't feel as necessary as it was in DD2.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm excited about what we have incoming. It's funny you mentioned DD3. One of the, I did a follow-up video to the announcement of DDA, and once we got past all the folks arguing over who was first, the very first actual comment there was, did he just say DD3 in that video? And I think that alone brings just a ton of excitement, just knowing that there's lots of future goals in the Dungeon Defenders world, and excited to see that DDA can be, can come in along that path for certain.
Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff we want to do for DD3, and we have a lot of story that we wanted to go to transition like the storyline from events in DD2 to DD3 and kind of like connect the stories from all the games together and make it make sense. So DDA is really that like side story where it still has relevant stakes in the story that's going on with DD2 and DD3 and the DD3 eventually coming out, where it's like this story still matters and it still has an impact on the world of Dungeon Defenders. So it's still like, it still works. It's not just like a side story to have a side story. When you like are watching some episode of you're binging some show and then they just go into some like random episode to like do character development on like one of the characters, and you're kind of like, okay, but get back to the main story. Right. We want it to just feel like it's part of the main story, right?
Absolutely.
Like this is happening to the main characters as part of the main story, and it's like literally that next step before what will happen in DD3. And there's a lot of awesome stuff in that story, but that's something that we've worked on for a while now, because we've been talking about these story things.
So without spoiling any of that story, can you give us any ideas on where the name Awakened came from? Or is that too closely tied in?
The name Awakened is too tied in, and I cannot. However, I can give you at least some tidbits about the story at a high level about how the game will begin and kind of what the goals are. But as the discovery goes on, as you play the campaign and story of the game, like a lot kind of gets revealed and discovered and learned, and then like the name of the game will be more apparent, but and it's not as obvious as it sounds. Like, what are they, waking up from a dream? It's like, no, like, come on. So it's not something that simple, but it definitely is relevant, and there's a reason why it's called Awakened.
We'll find out.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, people will find out. So just to give you kind of like the start of the game, and I can give you a little tidbit about how the game will kind of begin. And we made just a brief kind of like work in progress clip showing, a part of that storyline, but we're going to obviously probably make some awesome intro cinematic for the game that will be communicating the story. And that's something that I actually already wrote the script for, and we've been kind of like iterating on for a bit. But so the beginning of the story is that you're gonna start into DDA, and the opening cinematic is going to show a lot of the extra heroes, the Barbarian, the Dryad, the Gun Witch. It's going to have a hint about like the Abyss Lord, but all of them are getting sucked into these void portals, and these shadowy hands are grabbing them and like pulling them into this void crystalline realm. And you're not sure if it's like the crystalline dimension or if it's like the Harbinger, shadow, like purple and black stuff. It's kind of like it's a it's kind of an in-between of those, so it's a different look, and like something else is going on and you're not quite sure. And so they're getting like brutally pulled into these portals and taken from kind of reality and from the main timeline of what's going on in Dungeon Defenders. And so then the heroes are, the main 4 heroes are then going to be defending. We had them in Frostkeep in this, but I think they're going to be defending at Gates of Dragonfall. But just as they're defending, Mana Node comes in. He's like, look, you guys got to go through this portal right now. And Mana Node has obviously helped them throughout their journeys in Dungeon Defenders. So they don't really second guess him whatsoever. And they're like, all right, we're going to go right now. We're going to go through this portal. And when they go through the portal, they actually end up at the moment in time where the first Eternia crystal breaks in the library. And they're back in their younger selves. But they still have their memories of their older selves. So they've gone back, and Mana Node has sent them back in time. And the Mana Node will tell them a little bit about kind of what's going on and give you an intro as to why you're back in these younger versions of the heroes, why you're back in the library where they broke the crystal. And he's talking about, he's like, look, a dark force, an ancient evil is corrupting the timeline and trying to stop the heroes from obtaining their ancient power and their power levels that they had in Dungeon Defenders 2. And the only way to stop this is to be going through and making sure that he doesn't, wreck the events of the past. And so you'll start going through kind of some of these levels, and each one will look different but familiar because, obviously it's a different, like, things have been happening. And these are the things I can't reveal too much, but things have been happening. And so each level is going to look very different. And that kind of explains the visual update and explains like why things look different and behave a little bit different. But as you're going through the campaign, the levels have become more morphed and more corrupted. And we're even talking about doing like some crazy like rift levels where, endless spires will be partially endless spires, but there's going to be patches of like Pirate Island, and the dimensions and realities are like fusing together in certain parts because this evil force is messing with reality itself. And so you're going through and it's getting more and more messed up, and then you'll end up at kind of the main story boss fight is all I'll say for now. And then you will kind of be revealed as to who this is, what's going on. Like, you'll get a lot more, oh, dang. And we really wanted a new big bad boss dude to be the new target and be the new reason as to like why you're playing this game, why you're progressing and getting gear. World of Warcraft had like Illidan with Burning Crusade, but everyone was always like, when are we going to fight Arthas? He's the big bad guy from Warcraft 3. We want our Arthas. We want a big baddie that is, terrifying and awesome and super powerful and really gives you a reason to like play through the game. And then when you get to him, he's going to be nuts. But
that sounds really exciting. I actually got some goosebumps going over here.
That's the high level flow of kind of the storyline. And so as you're going through the storyline, the Harbinger is going to be in there a little bit. He's going to be coming back. You're going to see what's going on. I don't want to say too much because there's so many spoilers and there's so many like things that are going to happen that you'll be like, what? Oh my God. And that's why Mark was like, you're going to just want to know what's going to happen next. And he said that in the Kickstarter video. And it's just some of it. It's very relevant.
Well, I mean, we already want to know what's going to happen next. I think just about everybody I talk to is amazingly excited about it. Now, of course, the folks that aren't really excited about it are big fans of DD2. And this leads to questions about DD2. Obviously, we'll get it when it's done, and we know that, but you also know coming from both sides of the table, from the player's perspective, we want it all, and we want it all right now. Mm-hmm. Can you give us any clue on when we're going to get that next update for DD2?
So the next update to DD2 is probably sometime in the next month. One thing we've been doing with DD2's backend right now is actually we've been updating, like Microsoft and Sony have been updating us to their newer backend stuff, and we were unable to patch while that transition was happening. So that kind of kept us from doing updates and builds while that was going on since the last time we did a patch. But now that actually all went through quicker than we thought. So we still have our plan for the patch. We're aiming for this month. So I'm just going to say it's like within the next, 4 weeks, pretty much.
Awesome.
Obviously, we're trying to, kickstart planning and make sure the Kickstarter happens and provide enough updates and keep people in the loop. But the update to DD2, it's going through bug fixes right now. So most of the big changes and things have been made. Mark and Lalto will probably be talking about some of the more of the details. There's still some things we're balancing with the design team and figuring out and making sure that we don't, mess up the economy of DD2 too much with some of these changes. But yeah, like functionally, it's ready to go. We're doing some balancing and some tweaking and some bug fixing, and hopefully we'll have it out soon.
Fantastic. You all, I think it seems like every employee down there at Chromatic could use a dozen interns or so.
100.
You all are some
100.
busy folks these days. That is for sure.
Yeah, we've only had to rebuild a company and set up an entire Kickstarter and make progress and make a build in UE4. Oh my gosh, it's been crazy.
Oh, I can imagine. Now, speaking of UE4, is there any one thing that really stands out as a luxury of using Unreal 4 versus Unreal 3?
Oh yes, 100,000,000%. So obviously you guys, everybody knows that we have, oh man, Kickstarter's doing well, but we've had a lot of making a hero takes a good chunk of time in DD2. And the way that our code's set up in Unreal Script and UE3, it's a lot of effort to make a new hero, and it would require almost the entire team's focus for at least 3 months to make a new hero. And obviously it would get designed out even before that. I'm just talking about the actual making of it.
Right.
So now UE4 has an awesome abilities system that's built in, and I'm fairly sure it was things they built for Paragon and all that kind of stuff. But so they just have a lot of setup that makes it way easier and faster for us to do cool stuff with heroes, abilities, buffs, and do cool interactions between them 1,000,000 times faster than we could in Unreal 3. In Unreal 3 and our dev kit, it would take us forever to make things work, and it would be buggy, and we'd figure out weird ways to make abilities, and with mods and shards and all those cool effects and things that we did. Each one of those had to be actually coded in and made, and we tried to make things that were more modular that we could use in a bunch of places, the boom mods and things like that, where they all use a similar explosive buff that we created, just in different ways and applying to different enemies and stuff like that. But that was something we had to make from scratch. And in UE4, it's not as much from scratch. Obviously, we'll be building things on our own and creating them in new and interesting ways, but the base toolkit that's there makes it so much easier for us to do that so much faster, which makes it exciting, because that means it's much easier for us to add heroes to the game, which, need I say anything else?
Well, that's exciting stuff for sure. That actually brings me to the next question. Of course, no one can see the future, including yourself. But after we get Awakened, are we going to see more things past the launch? Will there be updates or DLC that come for it?
Yes. So we're definitely planning on doing some following DLC. We don't want to do it kind of as, some of the DD1 DLC was much smaller, little tidbits of things for $1 or $2 and that kind of stuff. We don't want to do kind of that focus. We want our DLC to be chunkier and a little more substantive. So we want it to have maybe it has a new system, maybe it has a new map, maybe it has a new hero, right? We want it to have a bunch of stuff, and maybe it's a chunk of maps, you know what I mean? Maybe it's a next chunk of story for the main campaign, right? And maybe one DLC is all the CDT content, and then some new stuff that we made ourselves too, or something like that. I don't know. I don't quote me on that, like specific, because obviously we're still like planning and plotting out how we can do it.
Sure.
And obviously the Kickstarter will affect the, what all of that means. And because our team size will affect what all that means. But we want it to be significant, right? And then we also want it to be very aggressively priced. And when I say aggressively priced, I mean player friendly priced. Like, we don't want it to be super high and kind of a pain to like buy our DLC packs, or if we do like a pass or so, like big content pass or something. We don't want it to like cost more than the game and stuff like that. Like, we want everyone to play it, and we want everyone to be playing together. So we're going to focus on trying to do lower pricing so that more people will get it, more people will be involved, more people play the content, and more people can support us, honestly.
Fantastic. Now, there was mention on the forum, speaking of the Kickstarter, there's lots of different tiers of backing. I personally took one of the higher tiers, but there's things that I would like to add on. And there was mention of more add-ons coming to the Kickstarter backer plans. Do you have any idea when those might be available? Just before it's over, or?
So it'll probably be when it's over, because obviously it depends. I mean, it's like it depends on a successful Kickstarter campaign, but we're definitely on track to make our goal. You know what I mean? We've made 100K in a little over 48 hours of the Kickstarter going live, and our goal is 250. And we still have like 27 days left, so we'll probably reach it. But our plan is to have a backer store with reduced price for like additional copies of the game and just some fun add-on things, like maybe you can buy some more t-shirts and like that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just to provide additional bonuses for backers that want to have more add-on products. But obviously we're rebuilding all our web infrastructure. I mean, as fans have seen right now, we just launched new forums and a new website and a new company and all that stuff. So it takes time. So we have to build it and make it, but this, the course of the campaign is going to give us that time to set it up, make sure it works. And then obviously, when it's over, we'll try to set it live and people can add on, or, one thing I want to do too is, allow people to upgrade their pledges after the fact. Because
Right.
it's something I personally enjoyed doing with my Star Citizen pledge from Kickstarter, is I liked going, cool, I'm going to upgrade the ship that I have and like some other things on it, and I still maintain all the Kickstarter bonuses that I had before, but I can upgrade some parts of it and do some add-on stuff, because now I'm not a poor student like I was when I first backed it. Now I can actually buy things as an adult. So that's the goal for that backer store.
Very nice. Now back to that, the player side of things, where we want it all, and we want it all right now. Do you have any idea at all on an estimate on when the first playable beta will be available to backers?
Absolutely not. It'll definitely be closer to launch. We want the beta. I mean, it's going to be a beta, right? It's not an alpha and early access. It's going to be like a much closer to final build of the game. So it's definitely going to be closer to fall, right? Like we're planning October. We're planning like mid-October launch. And we'll see how that goes. And we're really targeting an aggressive schedule for launching. But it'll be closer to then, right? Like, so maybe like August or September, a month or two ahead of the launch, maybe a buggier build, but it's mostly done.
Right.
That's really the target for the beta. So we want it to be, we don't want to do early access again. We don't want it to be an alpha. It's going to be a pretty finalized version of the product, maybe with some bugs and things there. And, and then Kickstarter backers will be able to check it out early.
Fantastic. Now, obviously you're a busy boy, and I've kept you here for about a half an hour now. I don't want to completely take up your whole day. But as a fan of the game, coming from being a player to becoming the creative director at Chromatic Games, if there was one map from DD1 or DD2 that was just your personal favorite that you would just love to see in DDA, what map would that be?
See, I'm weird. I liked Glitterhelm, man. Glitterhelm has been one of my favorites, like, since DD1 days. So much so that when they were making Buried Bastille, and it was before I started working at Trendy, I sent him in. I was testing it as part of their, remote playtesting group, and I was testing it, and I was like, something's off. And I went back and I checked it, and I literally I drew up a whole chart. I was like, you're missing all the air lanes. Like, air enemies should be coming from this direction and this direction. Like, where's all the air lanes of dudes coming in weird ways to some of these crystals that made Glitterhelm weird and challenging? And it wasn't just, kill the lanes of enemies. You still had to have coverage for the weird air lanes that came, like the one that comes in over the bridge and the one that comes up from the south to the south core. And like, they're totally like backdooring where your defensive setups were usually. But like, it was part of that, and I was like, man, where's that at? Like, the waves are very easy to accomplish, and so it was things like that where we added those in. I don't know why I enjoyed that so much. I think it was honestly because that map was so large, and it just felt, the scale of it was much larger, and it was harder to run around to the different points. But I really enjoy co-op games, so I really enjoyed playing with 3 other people, and each one of us would kind of take one of the sections, right, and take one of the cores, and we'd focus on defending kind of our quadrant,
right?
And that was one of the best times, and that was before it was insane Glitterhelm farming, and that was one of the best times I had in Dungeon Defenders just ever.
Heck yeah. Well, Bastille was definitely a nice addition. I know it was pretty intimidating to a lot of DD2 players when it first came in, just because it is so large. Mm-hmm. But that's an awesome map. I mean, no doubt about it. It's in both games, it's a really pretty map. It's something very nice to look at. Excited to see what it looks like in DDA, if that map comes into the picture.
I'm planning on it being in V1.
Nice.
I'm planning on it being there for launch.
That's just awesome news.
I'll say that. I mean, it's a Elandrian personal favorite, so let's just say it's a goal.
That's awesome. That is good news for sure. Well, anyway,
and obviously it'll be a new version. It'll be different,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it had big changes from DD1 to DD2 in appearance. So, I mean, I'd love to see what Unreal 4 is going to do to that map. That is for damn sure. Well, thanks a ton for joining me and letting me get in some of this out. Of course, I've been just filled with questions. A new question hits my head about every 14.7 seconds on what's going to happen. And just sitting here staring at that Kickstarter and wishing that October was a little bit closer.
You and me both.
But thank you once again for joining. I do appreciate taking some of the time out of your day, and I'm sure the viewers will all be happy that I was able to directly ask some of these questions to you. Once again,
of course, anytime.
For those that aren't aware, all the links are going to be down in the description below. Head on over, show the Dungeon Defenders universe a little love, and let's get DDA backed and show Chromatic Games our support in their massive transition that they just had. Now, if there's any last thing that you'd like to get out there, what would it be, Elandrian?
Just want to say all the assets are very work in progress. Everything's going to look a lot fancier in the final version. But then also, just for console players, we're going to release on PS4 and Xbox One. We'll figure it out. Obviously, we need the support to be able to do it quicker. But, our goal is to have this on as many platforms as possible and have everyone playing together. And I'll even throw this extra nugget of juiciness out there for you, juice bags. I'm 85% sure that we're going to have cross-save functionality.
Oh, man. I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't know how early it was, but I saw that Twitter message yesterday.
I'll drop that bomb because Playverse is going to go bye-bye. And we're talking about how to support, and how the matchmaking and all that kind of stuff is going to work with the online multiplayer, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that gets us would be cross-platform saves.
That's pretty incredible. I mean,
nuts.
that alone is just, that's the future of gaming. I mean, right there, that is definitely without a doubt going into the future of gaming, in my opinion. I mean, it offers massive conveniences.
The future will also be cross-play, but one step at a time. Let's do cross saves first, and then we'll work on crossplay too.
Yeah, that's exciting news. I guess I'm gonna have to add a Switch into the mix. That way I can get the full enchilada. I got a PS4 and an Xbox now, but a Switch. I need to get a Switch in my life, I guess.
Yeah, you do.
Well, anyway, thank you so much again. I really do appreciate it. I know you all are very, very busy. And, congrats to you on your new position and your new direction. I think it's an awesome thing. And really, I mean, coming from the gamer / content creator / live streamer side of the world, you're like the model of what we all want to achieve. So congrats to you. I know it's hard-earned, and you deserve it. So, great job, man.
Thanks, man. And thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Well, that will do it for today. Thank you all so much. And hit that link down in the description below. Get over and at least take a look at the Kickstarter. Lots and lots of options there for everybody. So thanks again, all. We'll see ya.